Can you tell me what the best barrel for a PCC is? Well, what does best even mean anyway? Best weight, best length, best material? What about best ballistic performance? Well, all of these topics can be confusing, so we're going to talk about the basics of 9mm barrels while going through all these considerations and more to help you before you grab one off the shelf. And finally, we're going to go out to the range, do some testing to find out together which barrel is best for our custom PCC build. Hey everyone, it's CJ with AT3 Tactical. Before we go out and throw some lead down range, we need to talk a little bit about what makes a 9mm barrel in the first place. The big and obvious difference is going to be the chamber and the bore size of the barrel. The chamber for the 9mm barrel is going to be different to accommodate the wider diameter 9mm bullet compared to the traditional rounds you would fire from an AR-15. The bore size of the barrel and the chamber have to be different to accommodate the larger and girthier and stubbier bullets. In a typical AR barrel, you're going to find something called a barrel extension, whereas on a blowback 9mm barrel, it's going to be considered more of a feed cone. Since the bolt doesn't actually go into the barrel to lock up, what would normally be in the barrel extension is what is actually part of the barrel itself. I've talked a lot about direct blowback in other episodes, so we aren't going to get into that here, but the super quick version of it is that the pressure from the bullet being fired is what propels the bolt backward to begin the cycling process. No fancy gas system is required, so therefore, most of the time, no locking lugs or barrel extension. At the business end of the barrel, we have threads to accommodate a muzzle device. Most of the time, the thread size is going to be the standard 1/2x28, but pay attention when shopping for a muzzle device and make sure you're getting one designed specifically to use with 9mm bullets, and that has the right thread size for the barrel that you ultimately pick out. And when you are shopping for a 9mm barrel, you might see something listed in the specs called a twist rate. For other barrels, that twist rate is going to be something to consider if you want to engage in some long-range shooting. But for us, since we aren't going to be poking out past about 100 yards, the twist rate isn't going to sway our choice. Most commonly, you will find a 1 in 10 twist rate on a 9mm barrels, but if you find a barrel that you like and that fits your needs, don't let the twist rate sway your decision when it comes to 9mm. Okay, so knowing the different sections of the 9mm barrel is great, but when you start shopping around for a 9mm barrel, the options and features to consider can be overwhelming for some of us. I know it was for me anyway. So to make it simple, here's a quick breakdown. Options like material, ability to clean, and longevity can all be unique to the manufacturer and the company that you're going to be buying from. In the end, there are really 3 big things to keep in mind before picking out a 9mm barrel for yourself. Those features are going to be length, the weight of the barrel, and the reliability of feeding ammo. Let's go through each of these in detail just really quick. The first and biggest thing to consider when picking out any barrel is going to be the length. But why is barrel length so important? It comes down to mission priority and how you intend to use your PCC. Do you plan on using this as a compact, suppressed, short-barreled rifle for self-defense? Well then, you might want to consider getting something like an 8-inch barrel and the right paperwork to go with your new SBR, or just be like me and throw a pistol brace on it and call it good and keep those pesky 3-letter agencies out of your business. But maybe you just don't want to worry about walking the fine legal lines or pay the extra fees when having a short-barreled rifle. So maybe in that case, you want to get a full 16-inch length barrel then. It all comes down to what you plan on doing with your gun, so think it through, and that will help narrow down your options for barrels. Now, there's a lot of options for barrel lengths out there, like a little 3-inch shorty from CAC Industries, all the way up to 16-inch barrels from your favorite people like us here at AT3. But something else to consider and something else that's really important to think about when it comes to barrel lengths is getting the best ballistic performance. I'm talking about things like muzzle velocity in particular. Think of throwing a football. When you throw the ball with a light, slow lob, it will drop and its trajectory will look more like an arch. But if you hurl the ball as fast as you can with a tight spiral, it will have a trajectory that is closer to a straight line. The same principle with the football applies to bullets. The faster the bullet goes, the more distance it can cover before hitting the ground. Faster bullets are generally more reliable for long-range shooting because they can cover more ground quickly. Longer barrels typically equal faster muzzle velocity because the propellant gases have more time to fully burn and create maximum pressure behind the bullet as it travels down the barrel. Stick around because we're going to the range to figure out how different barrel lengths affects velocity a little bit later in this video. But before we do that, let's move on to the next consideration, which is the weight of the barrel. Again, it all comes down to mission priorities and what you plan on using your PCC for. Do you plan on using this gun exclusively as a range paper plinker? Then weight might not be as big of a concern here, but if you're planning on bringing this gun around in a backpack, or maybe you're one of my competition buddies and you want to make fast transitions from target to target, then this is when having a lightweight barrel can matter a lot. Reducing ounces at the end of the gun can make a huge change in how you manipulate your actual firearm. Once again, think about what you want to do with your gun and its intended purpose. That should help guide you to what is going to work best for you. If you want something a little bit lightweight though, there are some interesting barrel options out there for you. Some barrels, like the Odinworks Super Light barrels, have a 16-inch pin-and-welded aluminum shroud that covers a stubby 5 inches of rifling. They also look super clean. Odinworks designs it like this for two reasons: to make the barrel qualify as a full 16-inch rifle barrel and to keep the weight as low as possible. So you might be thinking, CJ, what are you even talking about? Well, our good friends over at our favorite three-lettered agency count anything that is permanently attached to the barrel as part of the actual length. So, the benefit of these types of barrels is that you can rock a fully legal 16-inch barrel while maintaining a lightweight profile. Win-win. Ultimately, it's up to you, but make sure you're keeping up to date on all your current laws in your area that relate to barrel length, pistol braces, and things like that. So for me, since I want this gun to be a super tactical gun that is more for self-defense, I don't want something that's going to be super heavy, so I'm going to be factoring in weight as well as the next factor, which is feeding ammo consistently. So what ammo type do you plan on shooting? Hollow point? Full metal jacket? Well, if you plan on shooting mostly FMJs, then I've heard very little issues when it comes to reliability of feedings. But with hollow point rounds, just like in handguns, they can be a little bit more finicky. For example, some people have reported jamming or feeding issues when trying to feed self-defense catered hollow point ammo in 9mm PCCs. This is because the 9mm feed cone at the chamber of the 9mm barrel has remained essentially unchanged since the 1980s and was originally only intended for use with full metal jacket bullets. To counter some of these issues, some newer barrels today have enhanced feed cones like the Ballistic Advantage barrels, and some more unique barrels like those offered by TACCOM or Shooting Innovations have feed ramps built into the barrels similar to handgun barrels to help with reliable feeding. All of these options are in service to help feed the ammunition reliably into the barrel so you can pew-pew over and over again without having to worry about feeding failures. So now that we've talked about all the considerations when picking out a barrel, let's go ahead and test these barrels right here to figure out which one is going to give us the fastest muzzle velocity. I picked out 5 of these barrels straight from our warehouse to bring out to the range with us, so let's go right now. Okay, so we're out here at the range, so let's go through our testing criteria real quick before we get shooting. So we're gonna be using the same Blazer 9mm ammo. It's 115 grain of ammo. For the barrels that we're gonna test today, we're gonna be using an AT3 Tactical 16-inch barrel as well as an 11-inch barrel, and then the rest are gonna be Ballistic Advantage, an 8.3-inch, a 5.5, and a 4.5-inch barrel. The thing about these is they all have the same coating, they're made out of the same material, they all have the same 110 twist rate, so none of those factors are gonna be a part of this test here. So for the testing procedure here, we're gonna be using one gun. We're gonna be using a modified CMMG Banshee, and that's gonna be used throughout the test. So it's gonna be the same bolt, same trigger, same everything, so none of that is gonna be a factor. And we're gonna do 5 shots with each barrel, measuring it with our chronograph that we got set up, and then we're gonna be swapping the barrels out and logging all the data, and then we're gonna take that back to the shop with us to analyze that data and see what we find. All right, and we're back, and the results were a bit surprising, at least for me. So our test results found that the 16-inch barrel had about 1,400 feet per second of muzzle velocity. The 11-inch barrel had about 1,380 feet per second. The 8.3-inch barrel had an average of about 1,280 feet per second. The 5.5-inch Ballistic Advantage barrel had about 1,200 feet per second. And the 4.5-inch Ballistic Advantage barrel gave us around 1,140 feet per second. Typically, what you will find is the longer barrels will give more time for the powder to burn completely, meaning you will get higher velocities, especially when it comes to things like handguns. But the same is true with our barrels here. Now, with PCC barrels, there are a lot longer barrel options that weren't around when the 9mm cartridge was first designed. So, the question we want to try to answer is, if the barrel is too long, do you actually lose muzzle velocity? If we look at our test results, when using the same Blazer 115 grain ammo out of a 16-inch barrel, we get about 1,400 feet per second. But if you want something shorter, more compact, like a 5.5-inch barrel, for example, then you're going to lose as much as 200 feet per second, which is about a 15% difference, but you're trading that muzzle velocity for portability and weight savings. So after testing all these barrels, we found that the one that gives us the highest muzzle velocity is the AT3 16-inch barrel. So if you're looking to send that 9mm bullet as fast as you can downrange, then you probably want to go with something at about a 16-inch barrel length. However, since this is going to be more of a self-defense gun and I don't care as much about having the maximum velocity coming out of the barrel, I'm going to choose to sacrifice a little bit more of the velocity for other priorities. So for our build, I'm going to go with the Ballistic Advantage 8.3-inch barrel. I'm only losing about 2% of the velocity compared to the 16-inch barrel. The nice thing about the BA barrel is it comes with an enhanced feed cone, so I won't have to worry about feeding hollow point ammunition as much. Okay, we got the receiver set, we have the BCG and the barrel all figured out. Now we need to thread on a muzzle device or possibly even a silencer onto our barrel, but if you want to be let in on a dirty little secret about muzzle brakes with 9mm ARs, make sure to check out this video right here.